Caro grew up in a Christian home where silence was strength and suffering was dressed with dignity. Her father, a retired policeman, now worked as a night security guard in a warehouse in Iju town. Her mother was diabetic and weak, barely able to walk without help. Caro was the eldest of 4 children, and from the moment she turned 17, her life wasn't hers anymore. It belonged to the survival of her family. She got admission to study computer science at the university. Her parents celebrated quietly, but school wasn't what she expected. Her roommates looked like models. Their faces sparkled. Their voices were loud. Every weekend, they left with small bags and high heels. And by Monday morning, they returned wearing new wigs and clothes. Their bodies smelled like perfume and hotel bed sheets. Caro stayed behind. She had only 2 gowns. She washed them carefully every weekend and hung them behind the hostel to dry. She wore rubber slippers and carried a small Bible. Her voice was soft. Her eyes were tired. The girls laughed at her. Caro, shift. You're always looking like a prayer point, Vanessa said, rolling her eyes. Why do you like suffering? Patricia added. You're too pretty to be broke. They called her church girl. They teased her every day. But Caro never fought back. She smiled even when it hurt. She would always say, God will provide. Even when she had no food. Even when her stomach growled like thunder. Even when she had to borrow pads or use pieces of cloth. She held on to one thing, her dignity. She told herself, this is the only thing I still have. I won't lose it too. But life was watching her, and the storm was close. The kind of storm that doesn't make noise until it breaks everything. And deep inside that storm, something was waiting for Caro. Years passed and Caro finished school with quiet pride. No carryovers, no disgrace. She passed all her papers and held her result like a newborn baby. She came back home with a soft smile, thinking the hard days were over. But life had a different plan. 2 months after she returned, her father fell sick. It started slowly, tired coughs, cold sweats. Then one Sunday morning, the house was still when it happened. He held Caro's hand tightly, eyes half open, chest rising and falling like a broken drum. Then he breathed out one last time and did not breathe again. Caro froze. Her mother screamed. Her siblings cried. The world for a moment stopped. The pillar of the family was gone. And just like that, Caro became the roof holding everyone together. Her mother couldn't move much. The younger ones were still in school. Nobody else could help. Caro had no savings, no job, just her hands, her mind, and her faith. She decided to try something. She bought a tray and started selling fried yam by the roadside. Every morning by 4 a.m., she would light her stove, her eyes red from lack of sleep, her fingers smelling of oil. But Lagos didn't care. The police came one morning and kicked her tray. You're blocking the road, they shouted. They took her small money and left her crying on the floor. One afternoon, a bus sped past and splashed dirty water all over her tray. The food was ruined. People walked past like nothing happened. Caro sat there, her wrapper soaked, her heart heavy like wet sand. She cried, not loud, just small tears falling like broken taps. She gave up that hustle. Then she tried again. She borrowed 5,000 from a woman in church and started selling second-hand clothes. She hung them neatly on a rope in front of the house and called passers-by. But people turned up their noses. Why do your clothes smell like cemetery dust? One woman asked, waving her hand like chasing away a fly. No one bought. She packed the clothes and sat quietly, looking at the sky. Another dream gone. Then she began washing clothes for people, housemaids, bachelors, anyone who needed help. She scrubbed shirts, bent over buckets until her back ached like an old door. But the pay was small, too small. It could buy noodles, maybe soap, but it could never buy peace. Caro was tired. Her hands were tired. Her eyes were tired. Even her hope was starting to look thin like worn fabric. And in that silence, the world was still watching, waiting to whisper another offer, one that would shake everything. Caro woke up early every day. She dressed neat, packed her CV, and walked out like a soldier without a gun. She didn't want to fry yam anymore. She didn't want to sell second-hand clothes or wash bed sheets for coins. She wanted something better, something stable, a real job. The first place she went was a private school in the town. The gate was big. The classrooms were painted white. She sat with the other people waiting. When it was her turn, she answered all their questions with a clear voice. They smiled. One teacher even whispered, "You're very smart." Caro went home with a small hope in her chest. But days passed, then weeks, nothing came. Later, she heard from someone that the job was given to the school owner's niece. They just needed people to sit and pretend like they were doing interviews. Caro folded the paper and threw it away. Then the next day, she went to a cyber cafe. The man at the desk looked at her and smiled too wide. "You're perfect for this job," he said, reading her CV. Caro smiled, a little light returning to her face. "Just one thing," the man added, leaning forward. "Some jobs come with extra responsibilities. You know what I mean? Just a night and the job is yours," he said, licking his lips. Caro stood up. Her legs were shaking, but she walked away. That night, she hugged her pillow like a child and cried without sound. The next place was a company that sold electrical items. Caro climbed the stairs with hope. The office smelled like air freshener and cold floors. The woman doing the interview wore fine glasses and gold chains. "Do you have any special connections or referrals?" the woman asked. Caro blinked. "No, ma. Just my CV and skills." The woman folded the paper, placed it on the table and said, "You can go. We're looking for people with internal links." Caro walked out again, head down, feet heavy. She sat on a bench by the roadside that evening. Her heart was too loud. It was saying, "I am tired. Tired of walking. Tired of hoping. Tired of people smiling lies at her face. Tired of hunger that bites without teeth. Tired of shame that comes like dust on clean clothes." Caro looked at the sky. Even the clouds looked full, but they didn't fall, just like her. But something was coming, something she could not see, something that would ask her one question: how far are you willing to go to survive? It was raining that evening, the kind of rain that taps on rooftops like soft fingers. Caro was in a salon holding a mop stick, not as a worker, not as a stylist, just the girl who cleaned when everyone had gone home. She was wiping mirrors, gathering scattered hair, and sweeping the floor when the glass door opened. Clink. Caro turned around. There, standing with a smile like sunshine, was Linda, her old roommate from school, the same one who wore silk robes and red lipstick, the one who once called her church girl. But this Linda looked different now. Her skin glowed like morning oil. Her dress hugged her waist. Her nails were long and shiny like mirrors. Even her voice sounded softer, like someone who had forgotten the taste of struggle. "Caro." Linda blinked. Caro dropped the mop. "Linda." They stared at each other, then hugged. It was stiff at first, but warm. "You own this salon?" Caro asked quietly. Linda smiled like a cat that just finished a bowl of milk. "Small place. God has been faithful." They sat down near the mirror. Linda crossed her legs and asked, "So, how has life been treating you?" Caro didn't lie. She told her the hunger, the tears, how her dad died, how she was now the only one feeding her mom and siblings, how every job had failed. She spoke like someone pouring water from a heavy bucket. Linda listened without interrupting. When Caro finished, Linda was quiet for a moment. Then she leaned forward. "There's something I do now," she said in a whisper. "It's not fraud. It's not prostitution. But it's not something you talk about in public." Caro blinked. "What is it?" Linda looked around, then said softly, "I sell something. My hair." Caro frowned. "You mean wigs?" "No," Linda said, her voice now like air slipping through a crack. "From down there." Caro sat back. Her heart skipped. "You're joking," she said. "I'm not. People pay for it. Strange people. But they don't touch you. They don't ask questions. You just shave, pack it, wrap it, and they pay you." Caro stared at her like a child staring at fire for the first time. Linda nodded slowly. "The first time I did it, I got 500,000. Clean, fast, no drama." Caro's tongue was dry. Her head was loud. Her body still. Linda touched her hand. "Look around, Caro," she said gently. "Not everything that brings money comes with shame. And not every shame means sin. Just think about it." Caro couldn't speak. The rain outside had stopped, but inside her chest, a storm had started. After Linda told Caro about the business, Caro went home that night restless. She tossed on her bed, staring at the ceiling in their hot one-room apartment. Her mother was snoring softly on the other side. The small rechargeable fan beside her was wheezing, already tired. In the silence of that night, Caro's mind was loud. Is this what life has reduced me to? Selling hair from down there. But what am I even holding on to? Dignity? For who? Poverty? She picked her phone and called Linda. "Linda, please, this thing, are you sure it's safe?" Linda yawned and said, "Safe how?" Caro paused, then asked, "I mean, what do they even do with the hair?" There was silence. Then Linda laughed, not loud, just a soft, sharp laugh. "Caro," she said, I asked myself that same question 2 years ago, and guess what? I still don't know." Caro blinked. Linda continued, "I just know it pays. I've not seen any danger. I shave, I package it, I deliver, and I get paid. Simple. It's fine if you're afraid or not interested, but please don't tell anyone," she added. Caro sat up on her mat. Her hands were cold. Linda added one more thing, her voice now firm. "You want to think too much? Hunger will finish you." Then the call ended. The screen went black. Caro dropped the phone on the floor. She pulled her knees to her chest and rested her head. And for the first time in a long while, she cried. Not because she was weak, not because she was afraid, but because something inside her, something quiet and strong, had started to break. And when something breaks inside a person, even silence becomes loud. The next morning, she made her choice. She didn't tell her mother. She just told her she was going to do cleaning work at a shop. Her mother nodded slowly. "Be careful, my daughter." Caro stepped outside. Her heart was not beating fast, but it wasn't calm either. She felt like someone walking to the edge of a river, not sure if it would be deep or shallow. Linda met her at the salon, smiling like everything was normal. She didn't say good morning. She just said, "Follow me." Linda didn't take her to the usual staff area. She led her to a room at the back, clean, chilled, with a long mirror and dressing table. Inside the room were two other girls. Caro paused. It was Vanessa and Patricia, her old roommates from school. The same girls who laughed at her, called her names, made her feel like her dignity was a sickness. They looked at her and started laughing again. They laughed when they saw her. Look who finally has sense, Vanessa said. Caro, the virgin of the university, Patricia added, laughing. Life has humbled you, isn't it? Caro swallowed hard. You people too do this? All of us are eating from this pot, babe, Patricia said, crossing her legs. This is the new oil money. Caro didn't answer. Her mouth stayed shut, like a door she refused to open. Linda handed her a small shaving set, scissors, a new razor blade, tissue paper, and a small Ziploc bag. No cream, no soap, just cut and clean, she said. Caro walked slowly into the tiny bathroom. The walls were blue. The bulb blinked once, then steadied. She stood in front of the mirror, pulled down her skirt, and sat. Her hand trembled. Every cut felt like slicing a piece of herself, a piece of shame, a piece of what she once swore she'd never do. When she finished, she cleaned the strands gently, laid them on dry tissue, and placed them under the small fan to dry. 20 minutes later, she packed them carefully into the Ziploc bag and handed it to Linda. No one clapped. No one said, "Well done." Linda simply took it, walked out, and gave it to one of her clients. Caro sat down quiet. 2 hours passed. Her phone buzzed. She picked it slowly. An alert. 750,000. Caro stared at the screen. Her hand was shaking. The numbers were real. The money was real. And for the second time in 2 days, Caro cried. But this time her tears were warm. Not sad, not broken, just quiet and full of relief. Days passed, then weeks, then the new month came. Caro went back to the same room, same mirror, same quietness. This time her hands did not shake. She shaved again, clean, neat, packed the hair, dried it, zipped it. Linda smiled when she handed it over. "You're doing well." That evening, Caro's phone buzzed again. 500,000. She stared at the alert. Her chest rose and fell like soft waves. The next month, she did it again. This time, 700,000. Her name started moving around the group. Linda introduced her to new clients, men she never met in person. Some wanted short, some wanted long, some wanted freshly cut. Caro packaged the hair like perfume, clean, sealed, labeled. Sometimes she delivered it herself to hotel lobbies, office buildings, lounges. The men never touched her. They just took the bag, handed her an envelope, or sent a transfer. No talk, no touch, just hair and money. The alerts kept coming. 800,000, 1 million, then more. By the end of the third month, Caro had made over 3 million. She didn't scream. She didn't dance. She just sat quietly on her bed, staring at her bank app like it was a miracle. The next day, she walked into the hospital and paid all her mother's bills. Then she cleared her younger brother's school fees. Then she bought her little sister a second-hand phone so she could learn online. Finally, she paid for a small apartment, 2 bedrooms, tiled floor, a working fan, water that ran from the tap without a fight. When they moved in, her mother looked around with tears in her eyes. She was shocked. "Caro, where is all this coming from?" she asked one night. Caro smiled. "God has done it, Mommy." "Are you doing anything wrong? Hope it's not prostitution." Caro went to the wardrobe, brought out her old Bible, placed her hand on it, and said, "Mommy, I swear I'm not selling my body." And she wasn't lying. She wasn't sleeping with anyone. But she wasn't telling the full truth either. The money grew fast. Caro started dressing finer, new wigs, smart handbags, a small car, then a second one. She started planning to open a tech lounge, a small studio where young girls could learn coding and earn too. She even started mentoring other girls, but only the ones she felt could handle the secret. Soon, there was a whole network. Linda ran it. Caro moved the goods. The others shaved and supplied. They had a collection room in a short-let apartment on the island. It was private, professional. Each girl had her own kit. They took turns, cleaned up, and handed their packages to Caro, who sent them to the same contact that Linda trusted. Each girl earned their share. Linda and Caro took commission. It was perfect. No stress, no shame, no blood. Until one morning, everything changed. It started quietly. Sandra, one of the old roommates, sent a voice note. Sandra was the first to feel it. That morning, she woke up scratching herself so hard that she tore part of her skin. It began as a small rash just below her stomach, right above the usual shaving area. At first, she assumed it was a reaction to the razor. She even joked in the group chat, "Guys, I think my skin is protesting all these monthly harvests." Nobody took it seriously. Even Caro laughed it off. But by the third day, Sandra stopped replying messages. Caro called her. No answer. Linda sent someone to check on her. She lived in a serviced apartment in Lekki. When the girl got there, she found Sandra lying on her bed, naked waist down, crying softly. Her thighs were swollen and her skin had turned almost black in patches. The rash had grown. It was now like something was eating her flesh. And she kept muttering the same thing over and over. They said I opened something. They said I opened the wrong gate. Caro rushed there. When she saw her, her stomach turned. This was the same Sandra that always wore lace panties and Gucci slides, now looking like she'd crawled through fire. She was taken to a private clinic in 6th. The money was there. After all, they were all cash heavy. The doctor ran every test. Skin cultures, blood work, even scans. Nothing came up. "You're fine," he said. But Sandra was anything but fine. She scratched her body like her skin was burning from inside. First it was her lower waist, then her thighs, then her arms. She said it felt like insects crawling under her flesh. No cream worked, no drugs calmed it. They gave her sleeping pills. But even in sleep, she screamed. Then Patricia, another of the old roommates, called the group one night in panic. "Girls, I don't know what's happening. My body is itching, like from the exact spot where I shave, and it's spreading." Caro was sitting in her new apartment when she got the voice note. Her chest tightened. She didn't want to believe what she was hearing. Maybe it's a coincidence, she told herself. Maybe bad water or blade infection. Patricia was rushed to a different hospital. Same tests, same results. She was fine, yet she couldn't sleep, couldn't sit, couldn't even bathe in cold water. Linda tried to calm everyone down. "Please, you're all overthinking this. Let's wait. It might be nothing. I'll talk to Mr. O again." Mr. O was their main buyer. Quiet man. Never showed his face. Everything passed through Linda. But before Linda could even reach him, her own body betrayed her. It started with a rash. Same spot. She ignored it. Then the pain came. Then the itch. Then the heat. She broke down crying in Caro's living room. "Caro, I think something's wrong. I'm scared." Caro didn't know what to say. For the first time, she looked at her own skin and wondered if her turn was coming. Then came the nightmares. Patricia called crying one night. "They're coming, Caro. I saw them. A woman with no face. She called me by name. She said, "Give it back." You opened the gate. Caro felt cold wash over her. "What gate?" she asked. Patricia didn't answer, just sobs. 1 week later, Sandra died. No explanation. The doctor said heart failure. But how? A young girl, barely 27, with no history of illness? That's when reality slapped them hard. This wasn't just itch. This was judgment. Patricia stopped picking coals. She locked herself indoors, whispering to herself. One of the girls went to check on her and found markings on her walls, like someone had scratched them with fingernails, writing strange symbols she couldn't explain. Linda started sleeping in a church. Her body was covered in welts. Her mother was begging prophets and prayer warriors to intervene. Caro watched all of them, one by one, fall. And then it came to her. It was 1 week after Sandra's burial. Caro had stopped everything by then. No more supplies, no more clients. She had even changed her SIM card and stopped going to the salon. But the body doesn't forget. She was lying on her bed when the first itch hit her lower stomach. Small but sharp. She sat up. Her room was dark. Her fan was off. She scratched again. It got hotter. She ran to the mirror and pulled down her shorts. There, across her skin, were tiny red dots. Moving. Yes, moving. She screamed. Her mother rushed in. "What is it?" Caro couldn't speak. She didn't know how to explain that something she couldn't see, something she had willingly opened herself to, was now crawling back to collect payment. And the cost wasn't in naira. It was flesh and soul. Caro's mother was a quiet woman. But when Caro started scratching herself like fire was licking her skin, the woman dropped everything and went into prayer. She prayed from midnight till morning, anointing the room, laying hands on her daughter's body, crying with her whole chest. Still, the itching didn't stop. Caro confessed one evening. She broke down crying, "Mommy, I have something to tell you." And then she told it all. The cleaning job, the salon, Linda, the hair, the money, the deliveries, everything. She poured it all out like dirty water from a full bucket. When she finished, her mother didn't say a word. She just covered her mouth and wept, deep, heavy tears, the kind that come from a place too deep for words. Then slowly, she stood up. She wiped her eyes with the edge of her wrapper. Her voice was calm but firm. "You will not die in this house," she said, "not while I'm still breathing." She helped Caro up, wrapped a scarf around her head, and held her by the hand. "Let's go," she said. "Where?" Caro asked, her voice weak. Her mother looked at her and answered, "To church. It's time to meet the one who sees everything, even what hides behind clean money." They reached the church by evening. The sun was low, the wind was quiet, but Caro's body was on fire. Her mother held her close as they stepped into the prayer room. It was small, with just a wooden table, 3 plastic chairs, and a big cross on the wall. Sitting at the far end was Pastor Nwoko, a man known in that part of Lagos. People said he had prayed demons out of madmen and made the lame stand up. He looked at Caro once, then again. Her skin was pale, her eyes red, her hands shaking like a leaf during storm. He didn't speak at first. He just placed his hand on her head, closed his eyes, and prayed in a low, deep voice. After a while, he opened his eyes and said, "My daughter, you sold your covering." Caro didn't understand. The pastor looked at her mother. She removed what protected her for money. Tears rolled down Caro's face. "Please, help me." The pastor sat forward. "This thing is not just sickness, it's a covenant. It was sealed when the hair left your body. And it didn't go to just anybody. It went to something, someone, somewhere. He paused, then said, "Bring the others. Whoever is part of this, bring them all here." Caro nodded slowly. That same night, she called Linda and Patricia. Their voices were weak. They were scared, but they came. Patricia had cuts on her arms from scratching. Linda wore a big scarf, hiding the sores on her neck. They looked like old shadows of themselves. When they sat down, the pastor looked at them one by one. "Who did you sell the hair to?" he asked. Linda spoke first. "We don't know. Someone collected it," Patricia added. "But we never met the real buyer. Linda gave it to one man, just a middleman." The pastor frowned. "You made a deal with someone you never saw. You opened a gate and walked away." Caro whispered, "We didn't know. We just needed help." The pastor closed his Bible. The room fell silent. Then he spoke again, his voice like a warning bell. "If you don't find the man behind this and make him confess in the open, you will die." The girls gasped. "How long do we have?" Linda asked, her voice shaking. The pastor stood. 7 days. His voice echoed in the room like thunder rolling from the hills. Caro held her chest. Patricia covered her mouth. Linda started crying. Because now, it wasn't just fear, it was a countdown. The next morning, they went back to the meeting spot, the quiet corner behind the salon, where Linda used to hand over the packages. It was empty. The table was gone. The bench was broken. No sign of the man who used to collect the hair. They tried calling the number Linda always used. Switched off. They called again and again. Still nothing. They walked through streets. They asked bikers. They paid touts to check inside alleys and behind clubs. "Do you know a man who picks up bags from this place?" Tall man, beard, scar on face. The boys shook their heads. Some laughed. Some ignored them. "There's nothing here, Wani," one of them said. "If you can't describe him, we can't help." 4 days passed. Caro hardly slept. Her body still itched, though not as bad. But fear was eating her faster than the rash. On the 5th day, Patricia stopped picking coals. They went to her house. She was lying on her bed, cold and still, her eyes half open, her nails broken from scratching, her lips dry like dust. She was gone. The doctor said her heart stopped. Just like Sandra, Caro and Lina held each other and cried in the hospital hallway. "This is real," Caro whispered. Lina nodded. "We're next." They buried Patricia the next day. No friends, no crowd, just silence and sand. On the 6th day, Caro went to check on Linda. She knocked once, no answer. She pushed the door. Linda was lying on her bed, her scarf still on, eyes closed, body stiff. She had died in her sleep. No scream, no warning, no goodbye. Caro dropped to the floor beside her. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just stared. Then she stood up, picked her Bible from the table, and walked out of the house. She didn't take her bag. She didn't lock the door. She just walked back to the church, back to the altar where her mother had been fasting for 6 days. When she entered, her mother turned. Caro fell to her knees beside her and whispered, "If I will die, let me die here." Her mother held her tight. Both of them wept. The church was quiet. Only their prayers filled the room. And the 7th day was coming. On the morning of the 7th day, the wind outside the church was loud. The sky looked heavy, like it had something to say. Caro lay on the floor, weak, her body still itching. Her mother sat beside her, eyes red from prayer, lips dry from fasting. almost like they're both waiting for Caro's heart to stop too, just like Sandra, Patricia, and Linda. But then, just before noon, a knock came at the church door. A young man entered, holding a phone. "Turn on the news," he said. They rushed to the small office behind the altar. The pastor found the channel. Everyone leaned close to the screen. A man had been caught in a nearby town at a riverside shrine. His clothes were dirty. His hands were stained. His eyes looked wild, but his mouth smiled like he had won something. In the background, police officers were holding up bottles, glass bottles, each one sealed. Inside them, strands of hair, dozens, some wrapped in red cloth, some buried in black calabashes. The smell, they said, was thick like death and dust. The man laughed as they dragged him out. "I have taken what I came for," he said. "Their gates are open. I use their power for my health, my riches, my life," he shouted. The man had been using pubic hair from young women to draw power, health, and wealth. Through a spiritual process, he tapped into what he called their reproductive gates, a source of deep feminine power. He confessed that his contact was a salon owner and that she used a network of girls. The dots connected. Caro stared at the screen. Her mouth opened. It was him. She didn't know his name. She had never met him face to face. But his photo was the one Linda once showed her from her old phone. That was the buyer. Caro's hands dropped. Her eyes rolled. She fainted. They poured water on her, prayed, called her name. That night was the final vigil. The church was dark, but the fire of prayer filled every corner. As they sang and clapped and cried, Caro let out a loud scream. She fell to the ground, shaking. Then she vomited. Not food, not water. Black sand, thick, dark, bitter. Her body shook. Her eyes rolled back. Then she went quiet. They laid her on the church bench, covered her with white cloth, and prayed. When she opened her eyes, the itch was gone. The pain, gone. Caro was free, but healing always leaves a scar. The doctors later said, "Your womb is damaged. You may never carry a child." Caro didn't cry. She just nodded. The pastor called her aside and said, "That money you made, every kobo is cursed. You must let it go, or the gate might open again." Caro obeyed. She sold the car, gave out the house, emptied her account, closed the tech lounge. She moved with her mother and siblings to a small room outside town. One mattress, one bulb, one small fan, and peace. She got a quiet job at a church NGO, doing data work, enough to eat, enough to breathe. She no longer wore wigs or drove cars, but every night before she slept, she would touch her belly gently, where the scars still itched, and she would whisper the same words again and again. Some gates are better locked forever. Moral of the story: when the price of survival comes at the cost of your soul, it's no longer a hustle, it's a sacrifice. Not all money is a blessing. Some come wrapped in curses. I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please like the video, share it with your family and friends, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Goodbye.